This is the Cubs Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Chicago Cubs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yikes. Yikes is the word. The Cubs lose 4-0 to the, or lose the 4-game series to the Reds. They get swept 4-0 in those 4 games. There was 1-0 in this game. Jameson Taillon was really good. He was outstanding for the Cubs, but they had opportunities to score. They didn't. We saw, I think, a concerning thing happening at the end of the game there, either a questionable decision or, as we'll do the show here live, we'll see if we can update on Matt Shaw and what's going on with him. But really concerning what we saw from the Cubs in this series. You've now given the Cincinnati Reds a playoff spot. They're now tied with the New York Mets, as the Mets are about to lose or have already lost at this point. And the Cubs just didn't play well in this series, pretty much from start to finish, right? You get swept in 2 of these games, the first game and the last game of the series. You lose 1-0. You lose within 3 runs in the other 2 games. You have opportunities to win these games, but the Cubs just didn't play good baseball this entire series versus the Reds. You've got a team that looks, honestly, the best way I can look at this is you've got a team that has all the motivation in the world, that's playing to, for their lives to make the playoffs, in the Cincinnati Reds, and a team that locked up the playoffs on Wednesday and didn't show up in this 4-game series. That's what happened essentially in this one. We'll start today's show off from that point here with our turning point of today's game.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
I think this game's pretty simple, pretty cut and dry of why the Cubs lost. It's what happened there in the top of the 3rd and the top of the 4th inning. So top of the 3rd inning, Michael Busch versus lefty gets a base hit. Alcantara gets one as well. So you've got first and second with no outs, and then you do nothing. Pop-outs, infield pop-outs, and you don't score. So you have an opportunity with nobody on. You don't use any version of small ball. There's no bunts. There's no, just trying to get a grounder to the opposite side just to get, Michael Busch to third base. So it's first and third with 1 out. You're able to accomplish none of that. You just flat out are bad after those 2 guys get on base. So that's the first instance where the Cubs really cost themselves the ball game. The next one's going to be the top of the 4th inning. Santana gets his first hit as a Cub. I think it was 0 for 17 or 0 for 16 and got the hit in his 17th at bat. And then Dansby Swanson also gets a single. So once again, you've got first and second with 1 out, and you do nothing with it. Ends up being first and third with 2 outs, but the Cubs don't score. So you have opportunities to score in the 3rd and the 4th inning. And then again, they're in the 9th inning. You have 2 runners on first and second base with 2 outs. You don't score. So 3 different times in this game, you have the opportunity to score runs against the Cincinnati Reds, and you're not able to do so. That's disappointing. That's why you lost this game. You can be mad at Craig Counsell. I get it. The chat here, fire Counsell. I see it all. Okay. I get it. At the end of the day, players were on base to score and guys didn't come through. And because of that, it's pretty much everyone that's in your lineup. Yeah. I don't get why Santana and Turner are playing. I know Kyle Tucker is not going to, I feel like Kyle Tucker is not going to play again this season, just to be honest with you. I don't see him returning with the updates that we're getting from Craig Counsell. They're super awful. They're not positive in any way, shape, or form. They keep using the word hope and we'll see and all these different things. And it just doesn't feel like Kyle Tucker is going to be returning. So I don't think Kyle Tucker is going to return. Alan asks here in the chat, why can't Tucker DH? Honestly, I don't know. And frankly, I think he should, if he was under a contract. If Kyle Tucker wants to not do a DH thing in the playoffs and go station to station because it hurts the run, I guess I get it, because, you got to worry about your own bag first. And if you're not going to come back to the Cubs, then I do get it. But frankly, like, if he can swing, if he can jog to first base, having his bat in the lineup at this point is more valuable, because as this lineup is being put out there today, I'm like, okay, I'm starting to have to wrap my mind around the idea that there's potentially going to be a wild card game against the Padres, potentially not at Wrigley Field the way they're playing, where this old lineup is put into place, where Turner and Santana are both in it. Now, Matt Shaw, we'll wait and see. We don't know if he's hurt. I'm kind of assuming he's hurt, because I don't understand why he's not put in for Moises Ballesteros when he's at first base, or why he's put in for Ballesteros when he's at second base. But if Matt Shaw can't pinch run, I'm assuming that means he was literally not available in this game. Because as much as frustrating as Craig Counsell is, and look, we've seen Moises, he's had some triples and things like that. You got to have another guy out. You got to put someone else on base at that point. So I'm assuming, again, that means that Matt Shaw was not available in today's game. It's the only logical explanation to why he was not put out there. Ryan says, Joe, we will never know. Cubs don't tell the truth about injuries. Yeah, teams don't. They don't. It's not surprising. It's frustrating. I think they're being honest with Kyle Tucker. They don't know the answer. They can't figure out why. It's why he's not with the team. It's why he's in Tampa Bay. And this is where even if, Kyle Tucker was, in this lineup today, I'm not sure, it makes the difference in this one because we've seen Kyle Tucker not come through in situations where you needed him to, and maybe you win one of these 4 games against the Cincinnati Reds, but it was just a collectively of a downer of a series. I mean, we kind of joked about it the first game, after the celebration, like, they're hungover, but to go 4 games against the Reds and to not really put up a fight in any of it is just a very, very disappointing series for the Cubs. And look, they're a playoff team. They're a playoff team for the first time since 2020. That's great, but the Cubs, I think we all expected more from them. This season's really interesting to me because they've done something again that they haven't done in 5 years, but it still feels very disappointing the way that this series is coming down to. And we'll talk about where the reality is after this series, where you might not host a wild card series against the Padres. You might be having to go to San Diego at this point, the way that you're playing right now. So we'll take our break here. When we get back, we'll talk about Jameson Taillon, what we saw from him, the implications that could have going forward the rest of the season, potentially into the playoffs. And we'll talk about more of just what this season looks like the rest of the year. So you've got about, 6 games left to go in the season. We'll get all that next year, and plus your questions and comments on the Locked on Cubs postcast. This episode is brought to you by Zippix Toothpicks. Whether you're looking for nicotine satisfaction or an energy boost, Zippix has you covered with their nicotine and caffeine-infused toothpicks. For nicotine users, Zippix provides a discreet way to satisfy cravings and the hand-to-mouth habit without vaping or smoking. Zippix can be a helpful tool as you work to reduce your dependence on vaping. It's available in 6 great flavors with 2 milligram and 3 milligram nicotine options. And if you need energy without the crash, their caffeine toothpicks are a game changer. Go to zippixtoothpicks.com using code LOCKEDON for 10% off your first order. Must be 21 or older to order. Warning, nicotine is an addictive chemical. That's zippixtoothpicks.com. Promo code LOCKEDON. Zip more, smoke less with Zippix Toothpicks. Today's show is also brought to you by 5-Hour Energy. Caffeine needs a flavor upgrade, and that's where 5-Hour Energy comes in. 5-Hour Energy shot delivers a tasty caffeine boost in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine with a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee, plus B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar and 0 crashes. What I love most is how portable they are. Always got one in my backpack just in case I need one to get through the day. And you can take it anywhere, anytime to get the boost that you need. Enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5-Hour Energy shots. Get the flavor you love or be bold and try something new in store and online at www.5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. And finally, today's show is also brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401k properties or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. And if you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does all the heavy lifting, and you can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Don't let the financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB. All right, let's see. Let's trying to find the comments that I'm able to read. Remember, I can't read your comments if they're not appropriate. Mark says here, bye Tucker. Nice having you for 3 months. Yeah, it was. It's been disappointing this year. We've seen the ups, the highs of Tucker, and now not having him here It's really frustrating. And again, I said it when he was struggling. The Cubs will go as far as he can take them. And this is where if you don't get him back for the playoffs, it's really challenging. Because again, this lineup they put out there today, assuming Matt Shaw's back, he's at third base. Suzuki's in right field. Ballesteros is your DH. I'm hopeful Michael Busch in the playoffs will just play against lefties. I mean, the fact that it took Santana this long to get his first hit as a member of the Cubs, I hope that's enough to show Craig Counsell, like, when it matters most, you have to play your best players, and Santana is not one of them. So hopefully in the playoffs, we don't see anything like this lineup ever. Frankly, it shouldn't never be an option for Craig Counsell in the playoffs whatsoever. The only positive from this game is Jameson Taillon. He was excellent for the Cubs. Attacking at will, like he's been doing recently, really impressive start for him. And I think it does raise an interesting, question of just what does it look like for him, in the postseason? What is his role going to be? I would think that what his role is going to be is coming out of the bullpen, at least in the wild card series. And then if the Cubs advance past the wild card series, that's when he enters back into a playoff rotation. But there is honestly a real argument that depending on how you look at the San Diego Padres and how they match up, best versus the Cubs, that if they're worse against right-handed starting pitching, there's a real argument right now that Taillon should be starting one of these wild card games. The nice thing about the Cubs and where they're at with the lack of experience on their roster is there really isn't anyone to me that deserves anything. There's no one that's guaranteed a spot in a playoff rotation. Like, there are veterans on other teams where it's like, yeah, we've been here before. This guy is going to get a playoff start no matter what. And the Cubs don't face that. So I do hope the Cubs are being honest with themselves that if it's in the best interest of the Cubs to put Taillon out there. And right now, I feel like it is instead of Boyd. And Boyd, I think, we'll see how he looks in his next start. And maybe that'll make us feel a little bit different. But Taillon, since coming back from his latest injury, has looked much, much better. So I think that's really the only positive from this game. And look, again, the magic number has not moved. It was 5 on Thursday. The Padres lost one game over the weekend to the White Sox. It's moved to 4 because the Cubs haven't done any damage by getting swept in this series. So at this point, it's wait and see if they can lock up this series, lock up home field advantage for the postseason, or at least for the wild card round. No matter what you're playing the Padres, like, that's not going to change. The Padres are not getting caught with the way the Mets are playing. The Reds are obviously not catching them. Like, that's locked in at this point. So Ryan says here in the chat, Joe, Babe Ruth could be in his prime and not save this team. Yeah, the offense is uninspiring. Like the offense is not, the lineup is not producing in a way that would allow you to feel like that they can, produce enough runs in a playoff series. James says here, I'm no longer confident the Cubs will hold on to home field advantage in the wild card. This team will go home and face another hungry team in the Mets. Mets will sweep. I can't agree with that part. They're awful. The New York Mets are right now. But the urgency needs to come back. Like, that's where this series, the day off tomorrow, I think there needs to be a serious conversation held within that clubhouse about, how they played in this series. And yes, the celebration was nice and it was fun, and I'm glad they got to do it. I'm glad the Cubs are back in the playoffs, but you want to secure, that home field advantage in the wild card round, specifically, again, with what we talked about the other day with the way Shota Imanaga has given up 29 home runs this season. You're probably better off with the wind blowing in, honestly, than you are playing in San Diego, even though Michael Busch and Pete Crow Armstrong are their absolute best versions of themselves when they're playing in California. So there's good, there's bad, with both of it, but it's better to have Wrigley faithful there. Because that's what Bobby says here. We don't need home field advantage. Our home field sucks, and our team bangs on the West Coast. Yeah, they do. Like they do. Like, they do crush on the West Coast. I mean, think back to the Dodgers series this year, the Padres series this year. They do play much, much better on the West Coast than they do in Chicago. So maybe it wouldn't be the best thing. Jorge says trading Cam Smith for Tucker was risky. Signing Tucker, whoever does, is an even bigger risk. I think Tucker's had some bad luck this year. I think he's still a really good player. I know. I mean, I've watched Kyle Tucker up close and personal. Cam Smith also doesn't play for the Astros, so while in the future it might hurt you more. I'll give the Cubs credit for now for not giving up Horton or Shaw in that deal because they're both better than Cam Smith is. So at least for today, it still sucks you traded him but it's not like he would help this team anyways. Health Council wouldn't play Cam Smith even if he was even on the roster. All right, that's going to wrap it up. If you're a Bears fan, you're watching here on YouTube, we'll be live on the Locked On Bears YouTube channel after that game ends versus the Cowboys. So thank you guys for watching this one. We'll be back with you guys on Tuesday. Shouldn't miss any more shows the rest of the regular season. It's been crazy with Notre Dame and everything going on in my work schedule. So we should be back to consistent for those that check us out every single day. We thank you. So remember, hit that subscribe button here on YouTube as well, anywhere you get your podcast on Apple and Spotify. So thank you guys for hanging out with me. We'll talk to you on Tuesday. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Peace.